Jingle again, and it is part two of a bifurcated edition of the Lunchbox. How's that for an SAT word there,
Um,
FSU grad? Do you know these kinds of words at the seminars, or
I
do you
know
just know
some high level words. I don't know bifurcated.
bifurcated means something
I
that's
know
kind of
screwed. Screwed's a word I know well.
Screwed is that's the word of the day. Not Scrooge for Christmas time, but
Screwed.
screwed.
Yeah, no.
Screwed. Yeah, so we were earlier at the great TRP Taste, and Chef Martin prepared some really fantastic dishes for us. And thanks to those of you who tuned in. And but now we're going to pick up the slack and do a little bit more of unfinished business. Lubie, I don't know if you want to do some feast on some sour grapes, or maybe tell us about pasta and over the weekend. You shocked me. I mean, you have really elevated your food game, and I just gotta give you props. I mean, not only were you digging the steak tartare and that other the kind of sliced beef. It was a usually a kind
Gotcha.
of
That was nice.
carpaccio, which is usually a raw beef dish, but he kind of he used a term I've never heard before, like a midi something like a half cooked. Steak and that was kind of fancy stuff. But tell me about your weekend before we get into the football crap. But you and Cheryl's went to Pasta and right?
Yes. So while you get us, I think back on soft floor
Oh
about
yeah, on let's see. Let me
let's
do
step
that.
forward.
I'm a little bit. Yeah, here
Um,
we go. Yep.
yeah. So we've heard a lot. Sure, it's funny. I actually heard about it first from Shirley because she goes to this place that's literally called Oriental Massage. Like that literally is out of the Robert Kraft school book.
Didn't peg her for a happy ending person, but
Exactly. It
okay.
literally is in this strip mall. It's not uh, a bad area, but it's not a good area. It's in Margate, which is like in between Coral Springs and like nice east. Like Margate's sort of this area. Not good, not bad. It's okay. It's in a strip mall called Oriental Massage. She's been going to this place for years. Uh, they do pretty affordable massages, and she loves her massage. So her and her best friend have gone there for years. And there's a place like 3 doors down called Pasta and. She's told me about this place for a long time. We never get over there because it's in a really weird area. We either go out east, where all the fun things are, or stay in our area because we are lucky in the off of sample that they've done a nice job at bringing some more out east kind of restaurants, mom and pop per se, but they're nicer. They're not just Chinese or
Yeah.
New York Italian. So we're sort of lucky in that regard. Um, then I started doing the show, and I've heard of Pasta and a lot from you and a lot of the people we deal with, not only just viewers, but in the restaurant industry, you always bring up, have you been to Pasta and? And I find it funny. They're all like, yes, it's great. I'm like, okay. So finally, Shirley's like, let's go get a massage. Um, and let's go to Pasta and I was
So
like,
wait, you got massages first? I did not know this part.
yeah,
That's
I'm not a
that's
big massage fan. I think they're sort of a waste to me because as good as they feel, 10 minutes later you feel normal again. So like to me, it's like you spend like $100 for
I hate to repeat an old or whatever you want to call it, but like it's kind of like an Asian massage is like maybe like a Chinese dinner where like you feel full, but then an hour later you're hungry again. Is
yeah,
that what
yes.
you're saying?
I mean that's what it is for me. Like they're fine. They feel good. Like don't get me wrong, they do feel good. If you have issues like knots and stuff, which I guess I don't have. My wife gets a lot of knots. She sits in a chair all day and gets up here and there, but for the long periods of time, she sits in a chair. So her back, and also she was in ballet for years and did cheerleading for years. So she and did soccer. So she did a lot of stuff that wreaked havoc on her body. So she gets these knots, and I massage as much as I can, but I'm not. It gets tiring, and I'm not like great at it. So she'll go and get massages, and she loves it, and that's cool. For me, the experience is fine, but like the amount of money it costs for how you feel long term, I feel the same after as I feel during. Like, I mean, before. During, it feels great. Before, after, I feel the same. So massages are whatever to me. She loves them. They're whatever to me. But she wanted to go, and we don't get to spend that much time together. So I was like, fine. And then she's like, let's go to Pasta and after. I was like, you know what? I've heard so much about this freaking place. Let's go to Pasta and. So we go to this strip center, and I'm like, it's in this thing? She's like, yes. So we go to the place literally called Oriental Massage. I'm like, okay, she's like, yes, I know it. It feels like they do happy endings. As of yet, they haven't given me one. I'm like, okay, so that's good to know. So then we go to pasta and I'm like, okay, and we're sitting outside, and I'm like, how do they do outside seating at this fakakta place? Like you're looking at a parking lot. Well, I will give them a ton of credit. What they did was put really high bushes around the entire place,
Right.
decorated the crap out of it, and they literally black out the windows inside so that you have no idea whether you're in Western Broward or on the goddamn water. Like they did a really good job at, we may be here, but you don't know. And they play music, and all of their servers, everyone that works there speaks fluent Italian, and they're like, we're going to pay really cheap rent, but charge you like we're freaking on Las Olas. And the food,
They must have raised their prices because when I first went there
it's
to
like runaway prices or Casa Calabria prices.
okay, because I mean it's I found it for the quality involved reasonable and
I'm not saying
the,
it's expensive. If you notice, I
right.
didn't say high prices expensive.
Okay.
I
Right.
say the prices are commiserate to places that have high rents. But here's the deal. They do very, very high quality food, and they are very creative.
Yeah.
So I couldn't complain. I'm like,
It's stuff that you don't find at many other restaurants. I mean, it's Northern Italian, but they do have some seafood dishes and some red sauce dishes. I've been high on the place since I got first turned on to it by a teacher, actually, a teacher who taught a journalism class, and I would come into her classroom every year at Plantation High, and she basically and her husband turned me on. She said, "You got to come join us one day." They lived up in Margate or Coral Springs, and I said Margate, and made that face.
yeah.
And then when I pulled into that strip shopping center, I skipped the massage. I didn't have the massage before the dinner, but I did notice that that shopping plaza has a Papa John's. It has a 7-Eleven.
And it
It
has a liquor
has
store.
it has a liquor store. It might even have a pawn shop and
I'm
a
not
porn
trying
shop. I
to
mean,
judge.
yeah,
I'm not trying to judge. It's just very interesting. And I give them a ton of credit because Shirley and I, the minute we sat outside too. So it was like, how do you, but what they did was they found a way to fit 10 tables under this freaking section. They put these big bushes, they play really nice music, and they make exceptional food. And like the food was fantastic. And these servers are very well versed in everything. The wine we got was a Chianti, and it was really nice. And it was like, okay, like I thank God we don't have to drive east for food like this. Like that's really
right.
freaking cool.
And it's people from east like me will drive out west
I
there.
was hoping.
I haven't been there in a while, and I need to go there again. But I did get to have occasion to go to the same strip plaza a couple of weeks ago because it happens to be now the location also of Swirl Wine Bistro, is another really top flight, high quality restaurant that's owned and operated by a lovely couple. It's a black owned business. They had moved about a year and a half ago from another smaller location that was up on, I don't know if it was Lions Road or somewhere else in the Margate Coral Springs area, but it's Judith and Michael Abel are their names, and they moved in there. And again, literally like three doors down from Pasta and is Swirl Wine Bistro, and they're also doing really nice upscale food.
How was that? Because it's funny because Shirley and I, as we're leaving, she's like, what is this wine thing? And so she looks it up. She's like, Swirl Wine Bistro. She's like, what is this shopping center? She's like, this place looked freaking amazing. We're going to be coming back here a lot. Like,
It's crazy. It's Jekyll and Hyde. You've got like, the Papa John's and massage parlors and like two of the best restaurants in Broward County. And it's bizarro world. And today is bizarro world. We've got Florida State shut out of the college football playoff. And we've got me and you hopping around the county doing these multiple part lunchbox today, which, I think it's going to work out. I think people are going to find it. And, but yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed your meal. Swirl Wine Bistro, by the way. I was in there for the first time. It was one of those places that was on my list that I've been meaning to try, and I got knocked out of a poker tournament up at the Harrah's Casino there. And once I was like by myself, it was a Saturday night. It was 8:30. I said, you know what? I'm going to go swing by Swirl and check it out. And I
What
had
kind
a
of food is
really
that? How was that? They do have
that
food.
was great. And again, Mike is like he handles the front of the house and the wine, and he has an interesting wine list and reasonably priced. That's one thing I love is when you can find like some interesting good wines for $50 a bottle, $55 a bottle, and then his wife Judith is handling the kitchen, and she basically puts her hands on every dish. So, on a crowded Friday, Saturday night, it might take a little longer, but Michael says we're not here for people who want to like make it to a movie. This is the entertainment for the night. You come in with a group, you sit, you have a
It
conversation.
feels
It's
a
like
lot like Union
yeah,
Kitchen Bar is
it's
what it feels
it's
like.
European style dining where you have multiple courses and you take your time and you're going to be there for 2 hours.
Well, that was the other
And
thing with
pasta,
Pasta
yeah,
and I
yeah,
think her parents love places like that. I'm like, and her mom always bitches because they've been to Europe so many times that they love it, that they just let you eat. And I was like, they didn't rush, they were fine, but I laughed. I'm like, we were there almost 2 hours, and Shirley's like, there's no, we're gonna be there that long, whatever, it's fine. And we were there almost 2 hours. I'm like, your parents would love this. Like,
yeah.
they do not rush you at all. They let
European
you,
sensibilities.
they
It's
don't
not
care.
about. There's no TVs showing any ball
Oh,
games. There's no, it's you are locked in on your meal and the people around you and sipping good wine and swirl. I had a pork chop there. It wasn't a Kurabota pork chop. It was a type. It's a heritage pork. It was so succulent and so good.
nice.
And again, it's a place that had higher prices, but when you tasted the food, you could
Yeah.
tell why. They're using quality ingredients. And this pork chop was priced at like 55 or $54, which it's a little bit high for what would think for a Margate strip mall. But when I took a bite of it, I was like, oh, now I understand. And I had a little side dish of asparagus and I had 2 glasses of wine. And, all right. So but I felt great walking out of there because it was quality food. And Mike has agreed that he and Judith are going to be featured
Oh,
on an upcoming
nice.
Lunchbox.
Nah,
We're going to be going out there on
good for you.
Tuesday. It's a week from tomorrow. We're going to be
Oh,
December
really?
12th. We're going to be
Oh,
having a show out there.
okay.
So we're going to be sampling some of
Oh, my
Chef
wife.
Judith's great food, and I'll go stop by next door,
You
Pasta
need
and they're not
to,
open. Neither one is open for lunch. It's dinner only. Both of those
yes, you need to
places.
get into
So
Pasta and because that felt so lunchbox, like, in the swirl
yeah.
place feels like it as well, but it felt very like we're eating.
Oh no, we can get in there anytime. It's just that right now we're jam packed. Like it's the 12 days of Christmas. It's going to be like the 12 days of Lunchbox. I think we've got like 20 different restaurants we're going to in 18 days this month. We're going to like shoehorn on some other. We're going to pre-tape some shows for the holiday week. I don't know. We'll just start throwing them on every hour and see if it gets more numbers. I don't know. Like seems like today is maybe an experiment. But the bottom line, I'm glad that you got out and you had things like,
Oh, so here's the deal.
yeah,
So that's why, even though me, I don't want to say cheap Jew, the frugal person that I am, I focus on prices because I'll look at stuff quick. We went to the massage place and we were laying down there, and I was saying something, and she's like, "How did you even? You already looked at the price?" I'm like, "Of course, it was sitting right there." I'm like, I have to know what things cost. That's just whatever. So
see, I look at the menu and the items. I don't necessarily look at
always,
the cost. I'm
always
saying,
money.
ooh, they got pappardelle with wild boar. Ooh, they've got,
Yeah,
the polenta dishes. You don't see a lot of these polenta.
always.
Ooh, they have tripe soup. Ooh, like that's what
My
I go.
wife
I
would
don't
rather
I don't
me.
necessarily look at the
Always. I
prices.
always look at the price. The price is the first thing I do. So, anyways, but we're out for dinner, so it is what it is. Um, but I'm not a big polenta guy. At least I thought I was. Now maybe I realize now maybe I just hadn't had it done well. But like, I have polenta in places that were fine. I mean, because not everyone, look, McDonald's isn't doing polenta, so if they're doing polenta, they usually are decent.
I've had some polentas at some hash houses and joints, but when you have it at Pasta and it's a different level, and that's the mark of a good restaurant. Like, when you say tripe soup, and I don't usually like tripe, it's the insides of the intestines, and usually it has a texture that's a little bit, like, both chewy and a little bit like it might have these, like, little, strands that are kind of
You get it
but
with the
I
pho, like tripe.
I tried the tripe soup there just because I don't see it on many menus, and when I was a critic, I was like catnip to me, and it was so good, and that's the mark of a good restaurant, when things that you don't think you like or that you don't ordinarily have, like polenta, and you try it and you say, "Oh my god, this is good." And I ended up licking that bowl of
Yes.
tripe
So
soup
and
there.
that's so that's what we did. Like when we go to places that are different, we try to get different things. So we're gonna do polenta. She likes polenta, and again, it's because she's had it done well. Um, and so we're like, okay, we gotta get something out of the polenta section. What's good? She loves truffle, but a lot of the time it's the truffle oil. And again, she still likes the
Right.
truffle oil, but I presume for what the price was and what the portion was, that there's actually some real truffle because it was polenta with a truffle cheese cream sauce. I'm sure it had a more fancy name, obviously, and
Yes.
some like a prosciutto, but it was like what is there another word for a schme?
Well, there's speck.
It
There's
was
the
speck. It was
speck.
speck,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
cut like prosciutto. It tasted like prosciutto, but they called it speck. So I'm like, it must be an even finer meat.
A different kind of Italian smoked meat.
And it was
Cured meat.
freaking ridiculous. Like we're literally eating this thing. Like, and the bread they brought out was great. We're like, can we get more? We're like licking the freaking sauce with the bread. My wife is doing it, not even me. My wife, is classy and elderly
So,
woman. We're like, what the hell was that? Like that thing.
so you got a reservation for the patio, the outdoors, which, like you said, they wall it off and they block it off, and it's nice. I've every time I've dined there, I've sat inside in the dining room, right? And it's also very cozy, elegant, and even though it's a small place, they kind of like the way they have the wine. They have all these wine boxes and
Yep.
crates set up, so it kind of like partitions off each table, so you feel like you have your own space and it's private, and you can have conversations. And even though it is a pretty small spot, it carves out territory for everybody. So again, big props to you and Shirley for getting in there, and love that place, Pasta and love Swirl Wine Bistro, and again, go out of your comfort zone and try places. I tell people this all the time. In your in your food adventures, don't just go back to the same three places every week and get the same three things. My philosophy is go to a tried and true. Go to a place that's maybe new and has opened in the last 6 months or a year that you haven't been to. And then go to a place that you've maybe driven past 1,000 times, or that you've, heard about and it's been there for 10 or 15 years, like Pasta and try one of those. And if you like, every 3 times you go out to eat, rotate
Switch it
amongst
up.
the
Yep.
tried and true, the new, and the place that's been there forever that you've never, been courageous enough to go in. That's gonna be pretty satisfying. I mean, that to me is the
Well,
kind of
what's
style of
cool
eating.
about these places is where what you've talked to Deef about ordering wrong, and we've talked
Yeah.
about going to places and like things can be hit or miss. So far, when I've been to Union, when we went to Heritage, when we went to the Catherine, when we've gone to different places with you or my wife have gone, when you go to a place like this, so far, at least for us, I'm not saying everything they do is great, but we were looking around and it seemed like everyone had some different dish. That's how varied it was, and
Yep.
everyone looked happy. So
Yep.
far for us, again, it's not 100%. Every place can have bad nights and have dishes that were just off. Whatever we've ordered, we've not only enjoyed, we've been like, holy crap. Like, and that was the thing, everything there. Heritage, same thing. When we went to Union with you or
Yep.
us, when we went to the Catherine, and that's
Right.
what's cool is they do dishes that are different, but they're not like weird. They're just creative and they wake you up. Like it's like what we had today with the carpaccio and the
Oh, and that tartare, both of them, with that shoyu, they have
yep,
the
those
he had the kimchi shoyu in the tartare, and again, the other one had the black garlic aioli along with this with the carpaccio. I mean, it was all just, yeah, it's flavor bombs,
you just
and that's the kind
eat
of
and you're
stuff
like,
that.
wow. Like food doesn't always have to just be something that give you energy. Like it can actually be something that you sit there and you just enjoy it. Look, no one's saying you have to go to these places all the time. No one's saying that we understand that the prices vary. It's fine. Okay. So once in a while, for a big occasion, whatever it is, try one of these places, because I'm not going to lie. As someone who was very closed off on my eating, I was open with Chef Martin. I'm open with people. I understand what it can be at times. There's not something new doesn't mean it's bad. Like there's a reason these things exist and people like them. So to me, I really appreciate that others are out there like you that are willing to be patient with people like me and say, look, try it. Just try it. You don't know until you try it.
Yep. And you know what's gratifying is in the last week, I sent our friend Pat Utter from Shenanigans. He hadn't been up in the Fort Lauderdale area for a while, but his daughter was performing in a at the Performing Arts
Yeah,
Center,
yeah.
the and their Christmas pageant. And she's a talented young performer, so they were doing rehearsals. So Pat and his wife and family, they were getting a chance to go out to eat while she was still rehearsing. So I told him, two places to check out was the Catherine and Union Kitchen and
Oh,
Bar.
nice.
He went to
Oh,
both.
nice.
He loved them
Okay.
both. And Roberto at Union took great care of him. While he said, he had a fantastic experience. He enjoyed it. And I just want to, continuing in our Visit Lauderdale Food and Wine
Yep.
Fest theme of the day, both of those restaurants are taking part in the intimate
Nice.
dinners, and both of them still have availability left. A lot of those intimate dinners are selling out. Our friend Reno and Heritage, that's gone. My friend Chef Brandon Solomon at Evelyn's at the Four Seasons, that's sold out. But there's still some spots left at the dinners. That's going to be, I think, both of them on Wednesday night. I'm sorry, Tuesday night. The Catherine Tuesday night on January 9th. And that's with our friend Tim and Baloo. Pairing up with a Miami all-star chef, Brad Kilgore, is coming up to cook with him. And then at Union Kitchen and Bar, the chef Christy there has a visiting chef, Vinny Cimino, who I'm not familiar with, but I'm sure they're going to be turning out some great, delicious food. Both those dinners on the January 9th, the Tuesday night. So go on to the vlfoodwine.com website. And of course, the big events, the Lunchbox promo code for the big four, the bar fights, which is going to be at one West Los Olas rooftop where we were today at the bottom at TRP Taste, but on the rooftop is going to be where the bar fights is on that Wednesday night. And tickets are available for that, along with the Thursday night Walk and Roll, the new Asian themed event where we're going to be doing a live streaming podcast at night, or the Lunchbox After Dark series. We're going to be doing that on that Thursday. Friday, the poolside barbecue. Saturday, the grand tasting where the TRP Village, along with dozens, scores of other local restaurants, are going to be taking part. VLFoodWine.com. Use the promo code Lunchbox for an extra 15% savings. And yeah, so go check out some of those great spots around town. And hopefully for future editions, maybe we'll get some of those Western suburb restaurants signed up, like Pasta and Swirl Wine Bistro. But anyway, look, we don't have the ability to play those tape spots that you love so much. So I'm going to go right in and give another plug and warm welcome to our latest, greatest sponsor, and that's Batch New Southern Kitchen
Batch.
and Tap in Fort Lauderdale. And I know you worked hard on getting the new
Yeah.
spot up and ready,
Yeah.
but of course, technology has conspired against us. But let me just say this: it's Southern comfort food made in a scratch kitchen, delicious drinks and house-made spirits from a craft bar, great vibe inside and out with a spacious patio. And I'm talking about Batch New Southern Kitchen and Tap, Fort Lauderdale, in the heart of the city at 525 North Federal Highway. It's open 7 days for lunch, dinner, and weekend brunch with classics like fried chicken and waffles and shrimp and grits. And they have creative new items like a pecan crusted salmon and a fried green tomato BLT. And the drinks there, oh, it is smooth sipping and so good. Both me and you can attest to that, Lubie, because we were there
Yes, sir.
last month for just a brunch to check it out. And it got the Lunchbox and Lubie and Shirley seal of approval. And we're going to be there for a live show. That's going to be coming up a week from Wednesday on the 13th of December, and that's going to be a fun day because it's going to be kind of a lunchbox takeover of Batch, where come on out and watch us do the show from 1 to 2 p.m. And then later on, we're going to be having a lunchbox after dark, no broadcast, but we're going to be hanging out there drinking during the happy hour, like from 5 to 7. And anybody who comes out and says lunchbox, they will get an extra 20% off their checks, including drinks and food. That's going to be a great day. Again, and there's convenient free parking there in a garage next door, happy hour at the bar, and then the entire patio area from 4 to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, and live music every Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So that Lunchbox After Dark will also be featuring live music. We love Batch New Southern Kitchen and Tap. They are doing a great job over there. Brandon, and of course Kevin and the whole crew. They are going to take great care of you, and we welcome them to the Lunchbox. So go check out Batch New Southern Kitchen and Tap. All right, Lubie, it's time to take care of some more business, but this one is the contest winner.
Yes.
And
Now,
this was for me the best contest ever because it was the weirdest one too. We had like 30 something entries. The restaurant that I was mentioning is Le Tub, polarizing place in Hollywood, known for its burgers. And then I decided not to do the stakes races because it looked like they would be prohibitive favorites winning. And I didn't want to have 30 people alive going to the second stage, the Dolphin game. So I picked a race that was a turf race, and lo and behold, it wasn't even that big of a long shot. It was like a 6-1 shot. That one paid $14. Number 10 horse was the winner. And the name of that horse was Sky is Not Falling, which is kind of funny because today the sky seems like it's falling for FSU fans and for us in the technically challenge world. But the weird part was nobody had the number 10 winning horse. And that means, Lubie, we went to the second place horse, and only one person had the second place finisher. And that meant that's it, contest over. We didn't even have to go to the Dolphins
nice.
game to the final margin. And the winner was Barbara Schwartz, I think a repeat winner. This is her second win, and she was thrilled to hear that she was able to score the prize by having a second place horse without even having to go to the Dolphin game as the final tiebreaker. So, congratulations, Barbara Schwartz. You and a guest will win an all inclusive paid brunch for two at 10 Palms at the Gulfstream Park. They're now in the heart of the championship meet, racing this month, Thursday through Sunday. Next month, starting in January, 5 days a week, that 10 Palms will be open during the live racing Wednesday through Sunday, starting January 1st. So that's the contest winner. We welcome Batch. We did the VL Food and Wine Fest. We're going to be going tomorrow to our friends at Rappaport Restaurant Group at Deck 84 in Delray Beach, and we're going to be visiting with the new chef there, Fernando. And they are debuting some new menu items, and they unveiled their new menu, I think, in the last week. And they've had some activity there. One of the reasons we love Burt Rappaport, they had a little issue there where all of a sudden they started smelling this odor, and they thought it might have been associated with something from the king tides, flooding from the king tides. And then lo and behold, they discovered it was a pipe beneath the restaurant had kind of ruptured and was spewing out not anything like sewage, but it was a grease pipe. These restaurants have grease traps, and sometimes the runoff goes. So basically, they repaired it, but for a few days, it was a mystery of like what was causing this odor. But they've got it fixed. And Bert took to a Facebook group up there. It's called Delray Community Forum, and he's just such a stand-up guy because he was like saying, he said what happened, how they fixed it, they addressed it, and then he also, was talking about how they knew that their food wasn't, I guess, up to the standards that their customers were expecting through the early part of this year. And he did an upheaval, and he brought in a new chef and a new sous chef, and he just was straight up honest about all this stuff and saying, for those of you in the past, he goes, we think this, this chef Fernando, obviously a talented guy, has worked at some really high-end restaurants around the country, and is going to get things into shape there. But what Bert did was, like, anybody who's complained or sent a complaint, in the past, we have your email address. We're going to be mailing you gift cards to come on out and try the new menu. So the man knows how
Smart.
to win hearts and minds, and that's part of the reason why he's been so successful. It's part of the reason why I respect him so much, and I was so glad that we could do a partnership to to basically sing the praises of him and his restaurant groups, because I've never had a bad meal there.
Well, even if people do, it's fine. I like that they face it head on. As much as people mock Reno, he still faces it head on. Like, if there's an issue, he doesn't skirt it. And Bert is the same way. Like, I appreciate that no one asked him to do this. He didn't have to. He went out of his way to go on a forum and be open and honest. He went out of his way to root out the problem. And instead of just trying to hide it and move on from it, he said, no, it was the real thing. It happened. Let's let people know, because we aren't here to hide what's going on. We're here to
Right.
give people a great experience and have them walk away with a smile. And if you walked away with a frown, we want to make sure that that doesn't happen again. And we'd love to show you why we care about your business. And I
Yep.
think that's fantastic. And it's really something that we've learned from everyone we work with, that the customer isn't always right, but the customer matters. You may not
Right.
always be right,
Yep.
but you matter. And I
Right. And we hear you and we appreciate you and we want to make things right. And you mentioned Reno and Heritage. I was there last night with a small group, including Miss Bonnie, and couldn't have been again more gracious and charming. They know all about hospitality and this whole thing of what happens with him and Yelp, and it's because people, if you're going to be a jerk to him and his staff, then you're going to get it right back.
yeah,
But
yeah.
when you come in and you act like human beings, and if something's not right, and that's what happened last night. We ordered a round of cocktails. Bonnie ordered a Negroni. Now they don't happen to use Campari at Heritage. I don't know if it's a sometimes a distributor deal. You work with one
Yes,
distributor. They use some different botanicals for their some of those drinks, and like Bonnie ordered a Negroni. It tasted a little off. It was way too sweet. It didn't have any of that kind of. Usually, it has that little bitter tinge, which is what you want in a Negroni. And I took a sip, and I was like, "Yeah, this is like too sweet. It doesn't taste right." And we just called the server over, and we said, "Hey, this doesn't taste like a Negroni." And then he explained that they don't make it with Campari, but he said, "Hey, we do have an Aperol spritz that, although it doesn't use also the usual standard Campari," he goes, "but it's a really good one." So they made her a different drink, the Aperol spritz there, and it was absolutely delicious. She was happy. And the first drink she didn't like. I don't know if it was made incorrectly or she just didn't like the way it was constructed there, but they happily took it away and made her a new drink. And that's all it takes. Just be reasonable. And it's really not rocket science. Don't have these. I guess people, they just sit there and they keep sipping the drink that they're not satisfied with. They never say anything to anybody, but then they go on Yelp like 2 hours later, give it one star and said the drink tasted funny. Well, it's like, what do you want anybody on Yelp to do about it? And if you do that on Let's Eat, one of my spiels is, what do you want me to do about it? Like,
honestly,
tell it to the restaurant. Yeah. So, if the restaurant would say there's nothing wrong with
yeah,
it, you're out of your head, then you might have some. But again, Reno says that's not what they do there. If something tastes off to you, and I saw the bartender took a little sip with the straw, and he was,
yeah. You
it was
want to
right.
know,
It
they want
was
to learn. I appreciate that. That's fine.
yeah. So that's one of the reasons we love Reno, and we'll be going there this Wednesday for another Visit Lauderdale Food and Wine Festival edition. And it's great because, again, his event is sold out, but Chef Paul De Silva and her top chef there at the Ritz-Carlton Burlock Coast, they're hosting a intimate dinner, and that's going to be on the Wednesday night, I believe. And they are going to be having they're welcoming with them Chef Jeremy Ford, who has Stubborn Seed down in Miami. He's just killing it now because he's gotten a Michelin star for the Stubborn Seed. He's been recognized finally by the James Beard Foundation. And Jeremy and Paula De Silva came up together working along with our friends Brad and Dave at 3030 Ocean at the Marriott Harbor Beach
Nice.
Hotel. But so it's kind of a reunion of sorts. But the intimate dinner, also tickets remain for that, vlfoodwine.com. But Chef Paula is going to be with us along with Chef Reno. And Chef Reno is already looking to start some trouble and stir some stuff. And Paula and her wife went in there, and I met them at the bar one night. It was their first visit ever to Heritage, and they loved it, and they hit it off with Reno great. So it's going to be a fun show on Wednesday. Does it seem like there's a theme here? Lubie? Like, we're going to every restaurant in town, and it's great because this thing has really turned into what me and Defo envisioned it at the beginning, which is kind of going around a veritable movable feast every day, going to a different spot and getting fed the finest in foods and meats and cheeses and wines. And today with beef tartare and the carpaccio, and Thursday we're going to be at Delaware and what's on the menu for their holiday edition
I love that
party.
you don't have to angle anymore. That's actually what's impressive is you actually don't angle because we mock you so much that the angling is just anticipated. And they literally ahead of the time find reasons. They're like, well, we're in our boats coming, and people love stone crabs. It's like, what are you talking about? I've been to so many
Yeah.
boat parade parties. I've never once seen freaking stone crabs.
You're hanging out with the wrong crowd, Lubie.
It's fine. I'm like, I'm not going to complain about it. I'm glad we'll get stone crabs again. But I just think it's funny that we're going to have stone crabs 3 different times in like a 3 month span because you mentioned it like 2 years ago. And Gene and Jose want to keep Mike Mayo happy.
No, and well, they also want to spotlight that great
They
superior product. And again,
do a great
the
job with it.
Delaware chicken and seafood. Hey, look, we're doing all the live spots. We're getting it in. We're working them in seamlessly. But Thursday will be there. And again, it's the place to go for holiday season, holiday
So, okay,
parties,
as busy as it
your
was
Christmas
last
dinner.
week because it was a week before Thanksgiving, is it now just always like I feel like this is their freaking like
Yeah,
is
it's
it
prime
all the
time.
time now for them because this is holiday
Yeah,
time and they're
we might have to be sitting out close to
like,
the parking lot again, and we will because when they have all three registers going out there, which is often this time of year because they get such a steady crowd and they want to keep again. It's all about efficiency
yeah.
there. They don't want to have people waiting in line with their baskets, so they have the three registers open, and that means boom, Lunchbox gets the boot outside, and that's okay. This time of year, al fresco is just mighty fine. And again, for all the great seafood, the stone crabs, the lobsters, the shrimp, clams, whatever you need for your Christmas Eve feast, for New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, along with steaks. And they have the house made sausages, the poultry that made them famous, whether it's turkeys that you want to roast for the holiday meals, or just maybe some of these little, they have capons, the very nice little elegant small poultry chicken like birds, and all kinds of stuff there. 4191 North State Road 7 in Hollywood, right across from the Seminole Classic Casino. And I think on Thursday, is it the same day that we're going to be starting the sports betting and craps and roulette across the street at the
Yes,
Hard
this
Rock? And
7th, this
yeah,
Thursday,
yeah,
and it goes full bore. Yep. And we'll be right there.
it just happens to be. What kind of happy coincidence is that? That we're going to be out there on that kind of a historic day for the tribes properties across the street, and we'll be feasting on stone crabs. So that's to me is what you call a surefire can't lose proposition for us. So and again, Delaware is really it's a surefire can't lose proposition for everybody out there. So tell them the Lunchbox sent you. DelawareChicken.com is the place to find the weekly specials and daily offerings. They list all the great fresh fish that comes in straight from the dock down in the Keys, the snapper, and of course across the Gulf, the grouper. All the great stuff is there at Delaware. All right, here we are. I said we'd do 15, 20 minutes. We're 37 minutes in, and it is time for the main course. But we're going to keep it quick. And at this point, we're already all talked out. And I guess we've already processed it. We've gone through the 5 stages. But Lubie, it is time for sour
Oh,
grapes. It is time. You are a
been on
Seminoles
Twitter
fan.
this entire time fighting with
Oh,
people. It's what's funny to me about the whole thing, and I get it. We don't like, not that we don't like it. Some of our listeners, our viewers don't like when we do talk sports, but
and we saved it for the end.
it, it's the end of a second show, almost 3 hours later from when our first show would normally end. So
Yes.
whoever's here is the hardcore Lunchbox fan. So you'll get Lubie.
Yeah. And before I let you go and on your harangue, and you are a FSU graduate alum. I didn't realize you went to graduate school too.
I
That's
am a
impressive.
legacy. I grew up rooting for FSU since birth. I went there for my bachelor's. I went there for my master's, and I taught speech there for 2 years.
There you go. So you are Seminole through and through. I am not, and I am what you call the ultimate dispassionate observer. I was a longtime sports writer who covered, the heyday of the Seminoles under Bobby Bowden. I also covered the heydays of UM and Florida. It was great. Whoever was winning, I would go to great bowl games. They'd send me to New Orleans. I'd eat well. So I didn't care which team was in the big bowl and in the championship hunt. And I'm a Division III Tufts jumbo graduate. They said we played football, but it was kind of more like a two-hand touch with something like that. But it was not major college football. But even I was outraged and incensed, right, Lubie? We were talking at length both before, during, and after the whole selection process was unveiled. And even I was outraged because it's like, why play the games? It's like I'm baffled how and why things have changed that taking into account injuries, a team's injury report has now factored into an equation as opposed to their full year on field performance, and even factoring in injuries, what FSU has done, finishing undefeated with a really high caliber defense. I'm just astounded that they're not going to get the chance. It really upset me because it upsets me with the players. They put everything on the line and they get completely screwed. And for me, a guy who usually doesn't give a flying crap. Look, my daughter's high school, they were in the semifinals. They had a home game. They were supposed to win. They were a higher ranked team. They lost 17-14 in a semifinal. They're not going to the state title game this weekend in
Who did they
Tallahassee.
lose to? Who would they play?
They lost to a team called Berkeley Prep, which is a prep school out of Tampa area, and they had some big boys. But Heritage had a lousy game. There was a pick six. There was a safety. They missed a potential tying field goal, only 29-yard field goal with 3 minutes left. They had a lot of penalties, and then they still had a chance to win the game with the final last gasp drive. And Berkeley came in and made a huge play. There was a strip sack, fumble, and that was it. They made too many mistakes in a playoff game. But you don't see the Florida High School Association saying, Norland is the other division, the other semifinalist that won, Norland out of Miami, and you don't see them saying, oh, you know what? Sorry, Berkeley, Heritage is the better team. So we're going to let Heritage just come to the state finals, even though they blew this semifinal game. That's not how it works.
It's not how it works in most sports. I mean, usually they want to answer it on the field, and I get it. When you have limited spots, sometimes there are similar records. So when that's the case, you do a beauty contest, and that's fine. But the one thing for most sports is when one team has a better record and they have similar competition, the better record goes in. And for years, the SEC has sort of built the reputation and become bigger and bigger and bigger to the point now where even when they have an off year, you talk about off games, the SEC by college football standards was not the best conference.
No.
They were not. And they not only weren't the best conference, they weren't the best conference by a lot. Okay. So once you're not the best conference, you can't throw your chest out like as though, well, we were just being in the SEC, even one loss is better than undefeated. No, that's not how sports work.
And this whole crap about, because their quarterback went down, they're not any good and they will get destroyed by any of the other 3 or 4 teams,
They hadn't yet.
That are now in there. It's like, how do you know?
They hadn't yet.
How do you know?
They played 3 games. 3 games. He came in, a backup came in a horrendous situation, down 13. They won 58-13, scoring 45 straight points with the guys that were in. And then third stringers came in and they scored another 13 points. Okay. They then went on the road to what's supposed to be a tough place to play, to that conference SEC with backup and won. They then went on to a conference championship game with a third string and won. How do you know?
Right. They keep winning.
They can't do it. Why can't they? Why can't they do it? Alabama had 4th and 31, and by every estimation, should have lost the game. Should have lost the game. If Auburn does anything different defensively, Alabama loses that game. Auburn played one of the dumbest defenses we've ever seen in the history of sports, and Alabama won. Right? Alabama.
They deserved the chance. They went 13-0. They won every game. It doesn't matter by how much. It doesn't matter who. They're a major, Power 5 conference team. They won every game. They faced adversity and overcame it. They won a conference title game. I don't care who it's against. Louisville has a top flight offense. And they did it with a third string true freshman quarterback to still win that type of game. You deserve to be in there. You deserve a shot. How do you take that shot away from those kids? And who cares if let's say they did get destroyed in the first semifinal by 30 points. That's happened before. They deserve the chance.
Happened with Ohio State, Clemson, all these teams that are these powerful teams have also been dominated, right? When they went and got dominated, no one was like, oh, see, they shouldn't have been. No, they won't. They played. They got dominated.
It's a double standard, and it's outrageous. And again, I didn't go to school in this state. I don't give a crap. Okay, I live here, but I don't particularly care. It's wrong. If this had happened to Washington, I'd be just as outraged. It's like, and you know what? There's 2 things. I'm not watching any other game this year. I don't care. All right. And number 2, I am rooting for Washington to win it all because they're the really kind of only untainted team in this whole playoff. I mean, yeah, what this has taught us is that injuries are more important than cheating to the committee.
Oh,
Like, it's okay to be an unbeaten team to have a coach who has been, basically suspended for cheating. That's okay. But if your top star quarterback happens to get hurt at the wrong time, then you penalize the whole rest of the team, even though they've done absolutely nothing wrong and they won every game. What kind of lesson is
My,
that? What kind of freaking crazy
my problem is
sport?
it's not the injury thing. See, again, as we've learned in life, and we don't talk too much politics here. But again, I don't know who the hell is even watching us at this point. But hopefully throughout the day, people will. No, throughout the day, people will find us, and I get it. I'm just joking. What like it's not about like you should at least get the chance. That's it. That's my thing. You should at least get the chance. And I'm fighting with someone now about that's what it's not about the injury. Like, you understand, it's like with politics, they throw something out there a lot of the time, both parties, but it's really about this thing over here. Watch this thing. Watch this thing. But it's really this thing. It's really this.
The red herring, the old red.
The injury is not the thing. You understand? People found video, and I've said this, but I don't have video. I'm not going to go looking through archives. I don't care that much. People found video a month ago. Remember, Jordan Travis got hurt 2 weeks ago, right? 2 weeks ago, Jordan Travis got hurt. A month ago, Jordan Travis healthy. FSU was starting to struggle, but remember, okay, you don't remember. Most people don't watch college football like I do. Alabama struggled all year. They had some games where they won, but struggled for most of the year. Georgia struggled all year, got better, then struggled against Georgia Tech. Washington struggled all year. Michigan struggled all year. There was no perfect team. No one was dominant all year. No one. Okay, everyone struggled. All right, so they started bringing up this thing. Well, FSU's starting to struggle. What do they look like with Jordan Travis? Yeah, but Michigan just won by 6. Michigan just won a game where they ran 30 straight times, didn't even try to throw. That's how of abomination their offense is. Georgia just struggled. Like, everyone had just struggled. FSU was not the only one struggling, but they weirdly out of nowhere was like, I don't know, it's weird. FSU struggling with Jordan Travis. Are they still going to be number 4? And it's like, yeah, but they won, and they won by like 20. Like, they won by 20. Like, they won by 17.
Yeah, it's filthy. The whole thing is filthy.
It wasn't hurt. The injury was not the thing. They were doing it before the injury.
Right. They were looking to put in their big favorite, Southeast Conference.
And then the injury happened. They were doing a jig. They're like, yes, they're going to lose now.
But they never lost.
And they're like, oh, shoot, what the hell do we do? They keep winning. What do we do? What do we do? What do we do? Okay, let's just keep pretending like they have a chance.
All right, so now that we're here, we see what the real world, the real politic of college football, the guts of it. What do you do if you're Florida State? Do you still show up to the Orange Bowl, take the money? My proposal was they still show up. Obviously, any player who has any hint of talent that could make it to the NFL and potentially be drafted will never put themselves in a position of getting on a college football field again, and risk injury, not for this, whole stinky enterprise. But I say, the team should show up like they're supposed to, take their money, because there is a big paycheck involved in the Orange Bowl. But in protest, they should take a knee. The offense should take a knee every snap. Joe Cassell modified and said just to the first series. I said they should take a snap every down of the game, but let the defense go, my French, balls to the wall, because their defense could have still won a championship. And just say, hey, you know what? You guys didn't think we had an offense. We don't have an offense. Oh, you're shocked that we didn't score any points or didn't even try? Well, why should we? We had no chance because we don't have our quarterback. Let's take a knee every freaking play and just let the defense try to score some points and see what they do with just a defensive effort, and then just say, hey, you know what? This is what you brought. This is what you wanted. This is what you thought of us. We're not humiliating ourselves or our school. We're not disgracing the game. You disgraced the game. So we're going to do it like this. And what are you going to do about it?
I've heard a few different things. No, they're not going to boycott, because that's stupid. They played well. They played hard. They were undefeated. These kids deserve to go and have a fun experience. These kids deserve the practices that go into an extra game. These kids deserve the attention that comes with a bigger game. I've also heard sort of something off of what you're saying.
Even Giovanni over at the New Valentino is freaking trolling me now. My apologies about FSU, Mike. Alabama, much better.
But why? Okay, why are they better? What? Give me.
I'm going to talk to him tomorrow night over wine.
Why are they better? They didn't have a better record.
They saved you guys from getting embarrassed. What do you mean, me guys? I have nothing to do with the school.
We haven't been embarrassed once. See, that's just defensive guilt. You get that, right? Like that's when someone knows they're wrong.
Oh, he wasn't talking to me. He was talking to Mike Linder. Mike Linder, restaurateur in town, is a Seminole. So Gio and him are going back and forth.
The SEC scared of FSU getting in there and winning? Like, is that what they're scared of? Because before we played,
I think they are.
Before we played LSU, who was number 5, what did you hear? What did you? Oh, you didn't hear anything because you're not on Twitter like I am.
No, I don't follow it. And that's the thing. I'm a casual fan. And I got upset. You heard me yesterday when I talked to you.
All that was said was Florida State's going to get worked. They barely beat LSU last year. What happened on the field? Florida State won by fucking, pardon my French, but we're in after hours. So I'm going after hours speech. And I won't do any more. I won't treat it like it's the Devo show, but I threw one out there. Pardon my French. Sorry, Gretchen. Sorry, Sunset.
No, you're upset. And rightfully so. You are allowed
Game 1. Florida State won by 20 points. 20 points Florida State won. How do you know? How do you know? How do you know until they play? How do you know until they play?
Right.
So I'm sorry.
So this just in, the Final Four called. They are resending this year's results, and they are resetting a new Final Four for December 29th. It's going to be UConn, Duke, Kentucky, and Gonzaga. Sorry, San Diego State and AU and UM. You aren't the better teams. You really didn't belong, and so we're going to replay this thing with the ones
and that's childish to say that. That's like, well, you may not like how I'm dressed, but look at you. What are you talking about? Like, well, Johnny took a cookie, so why do you worry about me? Like, what are you talking? Like, that's a weird comeback. Like, well, they would have just. How do you know? They didn't lose one game.
Nobody knows. Everything is in the realm of the hypothetical. And once we've gone to that realm where we're just projecting what you think a team is going to do and not base it on what they've actually done on a field, then, what's the point of sports? There's just no point. Then we've turned it into the whole freaking gymnastics with the, the East German judge or whatever it is.
It's figure skating. That's
football's supposed to be an objective sport. There's a scoreboard and there's 13 games, and then you tally up the score at the end and you tally up the wins and losses. And any team, now I know the people from Liberty are going to say, the tractors are going to say, what about Liberty? They're undefeated, blah, blah, blah.
Relevantly close. I get it. Our schedule won't be the same as the SEC. So what do? We scheduled LSU to start from the SEC to make sure we try to make up some of the gaps. We then schedule UF every year from the SEC. Again, we love spreads. We love gambling. They're amazing. But when the game's played, we then go off the result of the game, not what the spread was, right? Oregon, Washington, how big of a spread was that? That got to about where Georgia and Florida State is, right? Georgia and Florida State's like 14, 12. So Oregon, Washington was a 10-point spread. Who won that game?
Yep.
Who won? Who won that game? It wasn't Oregon.
Right. It was
Georgia and Alabama. To the Alabama fans, was a 5. That's a big spread for Nick Saban and Alabama to be dogs by 5 points. That's almost a touchdown. In the neutral, it wasn't even at home in Georgia. It was a neutral site. 5-point spread. That's huge. Nick Saban's never a dog, let alone a 5-point dog. For all the Alabama people that love Alabama, who won the game, right? Because you're saying the spread's what matters, right? You're saying what we assume is going to happen is all that matters.
What we project.
Why is Alabama there? Why is Alabama there? Because they then won a game that they were projected to lose. Stop doing that. You wouldn't do that you didn't do it with Michigan. You didn't do it with Ohio State.
And thank God we don't do it with election. Well, I mean, sometimes it is. I mean, like, forget about the polling. It's but the actual votes show.
Sure, look, when it comes to these restaurants, right? I hope when they're doing the Michelin stars, they actually eat the food. We don't just go, well, we've really heard a lot about this Timon Baloo. Like, he's a nice dude.
Don't get me started on some of these awards. Yeah, no, I mean, it's a reputation. And
I hope they at least try the food, right? They at least try the food. Maybe they don't give it credence, but at least try it, right? They let the food come out on a plate and eat it. They may not respect what they've eaten, but at least eat it. Let the game be played. Let it be played. You may.
No, it's just wrong when you have 3 teams: Michigan, Washington, Florida State, all major conference champions, all undefeated. How do you leapfrog? And again, Florida State was number 4 last week. How do you drop a team that wins a title game despite not having with a third string quarterback? How do you drop them from 4 to 5? After a victory? Everything is mind-boggling about it, except that it's not, because the fix was in, and it's just money and cachet and these glamorous schools and Nick Saban.
ESPN signed and the SEC signed a $3 billion television contract.
Right. So they need
Same year,
SEC.
they weren't going to put Alabama in, like they weren't. Like, come on. Like, so then why did FSU play Saturday then? Why did those kids take a chance of getting injured? Because that's every time you play football, you're getting that's really what the sport is. Who's going to get injured today and how many will get injured? Why play? Why not just tell us we weren't in? And I'm going to say we weren't in before the game so that we can just sit home. Let these kids go get ready for the draft. Let these kids go get ready for their futures. And whoever wants to play the bowl game can. But FSU was never getting into that playoff. Like, tell your guys,
Hey,
bro,
it's
yo, I
it's
appreciate it.
it's disgusting and disgraceful, and it's enough to drive me to drink a whole bunch of happy hour vodka martinis at
Yes.
Tropical Acres tonight, Monday, Tuesday, half price wine night in the dining room, and of course 4:30 to 6:30 every weeknight, half price drinks and all of them, even the good stuff, Belvedere, top shelf liquors, half price drinks. Happy hour in the bar, along with great light bites. Go to Tropical Acres, 2500 Griffin Road, just west of Airport 95. It is Lunchbox approved. We love the Studio Alley family. Go get yourself one of those great signature prime ribs, filet mignons. They have great seafood as well. Tropical Acres, they have been doing it since 1949, and they just keep coming back for more. And I keep coming back for more there, especially on days where the whole world is driven me to maybe have a cocktail or two or three or four. All right, that's going to do it. Lubie, we got through we said it was going to be an abbreviated second show. We did a whole second show.
That's fine.
Yeah, that's good. We'll see what happens. And everybody out there, I guess just enjoy the rest of your night. We're going to be at Deck 84 up in Delray Beach tomorrow. We're going to try to put this sad, disgusting episode. It really has bothered me. Like, I never get bothered by sports.
I think, like, look, I'm a Florida State fan, so I'm hurt. But even if I wasn't a Florida State fan, I would be sad.
I feel for these kids.
Yeah, but
these kids did nothing wrong, and then not getting a chance to play in a playoff that they earned.
Is the people that your friend that like all these? It's only SEC and Big Ten fans who are defensive. They know that FSU belongs, and they don't know how to explain it, so they get angry and they're defensive. It's not about the team or the kids, even to me. And it should be. It's about the sport as a whole. It's like, okay, so you're now saying you're figure skating. I was saying wrestling before. No, the games themselves, I think, are played for real, so they're not decided. I don't think so. The sport outcome, the champion, can be decided. That is figure skating, right? Like figure skating, you go out there, you're allowed to do your routine, but if there's a judge that's paid off, or there's a judge that has to lean one way or the other,
you're getting 5.2s instead of 5.9s.
that's what it is.
That's
it's about the judges, not the actual games.
Yeah, the judges in that selection room determined the champ. Yeah, whatever. That's it. Enough. We'll be back. We'll see everybody tomorrow. Lubie and Defo in the morning with their usual sports zaniness. Download the app, the Tony Bruno Sports Network app for the morning shows on there, 10 to 12. And then, of course, the Lunchbox every day from 1 to 2. Hopefully, we'll be back with our full package of ads and graphics and everything like that. Again, technical glitches, but we are able to get on and do a show, so that's good. All right, Lubie, thanks for all your help and hard work today. I will see you in a little bit, and enjoy enjoy every happy hour cocktail, and enjoy every